So my husband said, do I want my car back? Yes. Okay. So he's fixing my car. Ooh, my mama said, find him in college. I'm glad I did. Because that car needed to be fixed. So sorry about that. All right. So the next point I put here was, it says, the most obvious problem is the idea that the government is responsible for fixing the wealth gap. But the government has proved wholly ineffective at dealing with poverty in America. The data is conclusive that government efforts are far more likely to be the cause of the wealth gap than the solution. I didn't write this. I'm just reading to you. Something to think about. Moving on to page 2, it states, the crisis we face is the inevitable. Yeah, I said that wrong. I'm just going to slide past that like y'all didn't hear that. The results of the ways the government goes about taking the resources it has promised. I think that's the issue right there, is that a lot of Americans, before my time, was promised a lot of resources and haven't received them. And I'm just going to drop it right there. Now, in the book, I didn't even get to page 3, and we're already talking about a racial problem in page 2. It says, let's use Detroit as an example. And the ironic part about this is the person who challenged me to do these videos is from Detroit. But it says, in 1961, Detroit elected Democrat Jerome, I can't pronounce his name, Cavanagh. Look him up. He's the mayor. And what he did was, it says, he won election by promising to give Detroit's African-American population the civil rights they deserve. There we go. Promising, right? Please don't promise anybody anything unless you're going to deliver. I underline here, it says, serving this community's interests. He did all he can do to bring government benefits and government spending to Detroit's black community. So what I'm learning is, and I can say this because I'm black. A lot of people say, why do black people begging the government for resources? Or why are we always, asking for the government to take care of us? But the more I read, I go back into history, the government kind of promised they had our backs back in like the 60s. I wasn't even born yet. So it just made me start to think. I said, okay, I can see how that's a problem. Also, it says here in the book, he promised the residents of the model city, most of whom were black and poor, benefits that will be paid by the rich. He bought the votes of the city's residents with taxes they didn't have to pay. Did you hear that? I'm gonna read that again. I didn't write the book. I'm just reading. He bought the votes of the city's residents with taxes they didn't have to pay. Sound like a promise, right? Okay. Now, here I have another one. It says more than 400 million, almost 3 billion in today's dollars, was spent on the program. The feds and Democratic city mayors were soon telling people where to live, what to build, and what businesses to open or close. In return, the people receive cash, training, education, healthcare. I'm straight. I'm not going to tell you what political party I'm in because my grandma said we don't even count. So there you go. I will say it like this. If you have to give me something and then tell me how to live, I don't want it. I figure it out. I figured it out this far. I'm straight. Just saying. The name of the program, and please research this because I'm going to research it more myself, is the Model City. According to this book, it was a disaster. It triggered a complete breakdown of civil order. I said, now I understand why civil rights and politics and money all come together. It has something to do way before my time. So young folks, please listen to your elders because they spitting this knowledge. Thank God when my grandfather passed, he was 95 years old. So I grew up him telling me about the Great Depression because he was born 1920. And thank God my grandmother's still living, knock on wood. She was born 1934. So I'm old school yet young school. So you understand why these videos hard for me? Because my mom was a single mom for many years. And so who was watching me was my grandparents. And so now I understand the more I listen to them and the more I read. It says, so here is the problem. On July 23rd, 1967. Hear this, July 23rd, 1967. This is what they call the worst race war of the 1960s. Never heard of it. So when I was reading this book, I was like, wow, I'm having a Black History moment. This race war killed 40 people and left more than 5,000 people homeless. You got to read this book. It breaks it down and it says the first stores was to be looted was a Black-owned pharmacy. I worked in pharmacy for 15 years. I taught pharmacy. I've done everything you could think in pharmacy. And that hurt. So I was like, wow. Sorry, my husband's still texting me. I won't be too long. And so please research this, y'all. In this book, it says 5 days later, President Johnson sent in 2 divisions of paratroopers to put down the violence. You hear me? You see me? What? Are we going to war out here? That's why I wore this today. I'm a military wife. I don't want that to happen again. So please try to learn all you can. 5 days later. So your mayor of your city in Detroit tell you he got your back. Promise you all it is. And then violence broke out. And now the government, the federal government had to get involved. Deep. I'm going to go check out what he wants because he don't understand that this video is recorded for YouTube. And so I'm going to come back and finish up page 3, 4, and 5. Well, 3 to 6, 3 more pages, and then we're going to call it a day. I'll be back. Bye.